Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are gonna be kind of signing on here and there, but Randy and Lenny, thank you so much for taking the time. Again, when we first said, but like, we tried to do one of these Zoom calls while Randy and Lenny were at their boat in a marina in St. John, right? You guys were in St. John? Yeah, and it was exciting because it worked, but then it didn't work. And then it worked, and then it didn't quite work. And we were like, well, that's probably not going to be the best view. I mean, getting the pictures of you guys on the boats, but they can go check out your YouTube channel and figure out all that information. But we thought we would have you guys on, one, to express thanks and also just to get the word out about what we have going on at Warrior Sailing, which will be the second half of this call. Going to keep the teaser going. The first half of the call, we're going to do kind of our normal Warrior Watch, where we get to know some people who are involved in the program. This is our 10th or 11th, I don't know, one of those Warrior Watches. They're all on our YouTube channel. You can check them out later. But for the first little bit here, just trying to get to know you guys a little bit better. And we kind of dive a little bit deeper than what some people might know. But in general, how did you get to know Warrior Sailing will be kind of the first question as to how you relate to why we have you on the call and how we know you from that friendship. Like how do you appear here, your YouTube channel, or what else? How did that happen?
Okay, so I'll start there. Lenny and I, for years, we're both in business, and through our businesses, we supported many charities and organizations. And what we found as we were getting older is that most of the organizations we were supporting were because people were asking us to support them, whether it was customers or vendors or just people through business. Hey, will you support these different organizations? And one day we woke up and we said, even though these are great organizations, and many of which you would know, United Way and on down the line, none of them were super passionate. There was no passion by us because we hadn't really picked something that we could get behind and really have it be just for us. And so Lenny and I were, and I know you have more questions for us about our travels, but during one of our travels, when we sailed all the way to California through the Panama Canal, we were in Los Angeles in Marina del Rey, and we had spent months searching for different organizations and to pick something that would be ours, something we could be passionate about. And we were going for a run one morning, and we were on the beautiful long 13-mile the Strand in Los Angeles, you know, on the beach there, in front of Newport Beach and all that. And we're running, and Lenny runs up to me, and we've got our ear pods in or whatever at the time. And she looks at me and she goes, I've got it. I've got it. And I'm like, what? She goes, I've got the organization for us. And I'm like, tell me. Yes. And she's like, no, when we get back to the boat. So we turned around and ran, you know, a mile or two back to the boat. And we got back to the boat, and she takes off the headphones, and she's literally jumping like this. And she says, yes. And she says, Warrior Sailing. And I'm like, what? And she goes, I read about this organization. I think it was in a,
I don't know.
It was in a magazine, or you Googled it online or something. Yeah. She had found Warrior Sailing. She read about it, and she had meant to talk to me about it, but it hit her that morning. And so we looked it up, we pulled it up, and it was like—
Saw that you were in St. Pete.
Yeah, saw that you guys were based in Florida at the time. And it was like, you know the saying, the truth rings like a bell? It's like, it was just, it hit us, and we called and we said, this is too good to be true, because one thing that people don't know about us is, and maybe we've shared on our website, is that Lenny and I were not in the service, and none of our family was in the service. And so we feel like a deep appreciation and gratitude for everybody that has served in the country. And we always have, and it's something we both always really appreciated. So anytime there was any opportunity to help service people and to show our respect and our gratitude, and so mix that with sailing, no brainer. So we,
Yeah.
so we called, who was it?
Yes.
And Jen
Jen and
and
Ralph.
Ralph, and
They
we,
came over to Del Rey and had lunch with us. And we just talked kind of through the beginning of it. And we said, we had this YouTube channel that was really by accident. It was not intended to ever do anything but show our kids where we were. And we thought, maybe we can use it for something good. And that's how the whole thing evolved.
yeah, it was, I would say it was a match made in heaven. So we started.
I agree.
So we started donating time and money to the program, and just got really excited about it. And then we started wearing the gear on our channel when we were really at the height of it. And at the end of every episode, we would ask people to help us support the organization. And I'm looking at some faces here on the screen, John Applegate, of people that supported Warrior Sailing through finding out about it through our channel. So it was just a good thing on top of a good thing on top of a good thing, and then put a mast and a sail on top of it, and it's even better.
Yeah, I love it. I love that story, because if you thought it was a great match made in heaven, you're jumping up and down to support us. So
Yes.
when we got the call, can you imagine us? Not a lot of people end up calling us and saying, I would really just like to support you, and I found you. That's like the perfect way to have things come together. I love it. So to kind of talk a little bit about your sailing career, because I think in these Warrior Watches, it's always really interesting to get people's backgrounds, because I want to learn more about that, because you and I, the three of us have spent time on a boat, usually at an event. We don't get to spend much time of like figuring out kind of where your sailing started. And then I try and kind of relate that to how the Warriors have started in ways that they can stay involved, just to give some advice. So Lennie, I'm going to start with you. So where are you from, and where did your sailing start? Where did that all happen?
I am born and raised in South Florida. Very few natives still here, but I'm one of them. And
Okay.
when I met Randy, my boating experience, I mean, we had grown up on the water as far as snorkeling, beaching. My mother's brother were Cuban, so they're big fishing people. So we would go down to the Keys and go fishing, but they were the kind that like just fished. Like you weren't going to stop and swim. You just like went out and fished and you came back, So that was my recreational boating that I knew. So when I met Randy, he was a power boater here in Florida. So we did that for quite a while, which was more familiar to me. And then he asked me, let's charter a sailboat from the moorings one time. We started with just the two of us, and I knew nothing about sailboats, had never been on a sailboat. So that was,
23 years ago this month.
Yeah.
23 years ago this month.
So, and from then it was just, we would charter at least once a year, either alone or with the kids. But we really couldn't get into it until his kids graduated from high school, went off to college, and we could spend more time, because sailing takes a little bit more time, than power boating from here to Bimini, So once his youngest went to college, we bought a Hunter 49 that was already in Nanny Cay, and owned by an American, but he was using it down there. And that kind of started us around the BVI and the Caribbean, and we just kind of stretched our legs from there. So that's where it all started.
We stretched our
For
legs.
me,
I love that.
We
South Florida.
12,000 miles we stretched our legs.
Yeah, it was a long stretch. I mean,
it was a long stretch. It took a long time.
I like that. So Randy, where are you born and raised, and then how did you get into sailing? Where did that start?
So I was born and raised in right near San Francisco, California. And so I lived there until I was about 20. And it all started when I was 12 years old, and my dad and mom had been divorced for a while, and he was dating different women, and he's dating this girl. This is literally how sailing started. Okay, John Applegate, this is why you're here right now. It's because of this girl my dad was dating. So my dad's dating this girl, and my dad had a power boat, and we were out water skiing, and she goes, "This is nice, but my last boyfriend had a sailboat on San Francisco Bay." So Monday morning, my dad is down in San Francisco Bay, walks into a yacht dealer, orders a brand new Erickson 29 sailboat, which was the hot thing back in 1975. And he takes delivery of that boat. By the time the boat was delivered and we started sailing, the girl was gone. And my dad and I started sailing this boat around San Francisco Bay, and we didn't know anything. I mean, zero, nothing, okay? And we took it out by ourselves, and of course we raised the sails, and then we thought that the wind had to go perpendicular to the sails, and the boat was leaning over, and it was scary, and we just decided we were going to figure it out. But both of us just built a love for like the swashbuckling fun of saltwater and marinas and danger and, you know, all the other stuff that goes with the life on the water. And so we started sailing, and then of course in San Francisco that turned into racing. And so by the late 70s, we had a 35-foot one design racing sailboat, and we raced from Mexico almost up to the Oregon border, all around the Bay Area. And so we were doing serious offshore racing, and I was 14, 15, 16 years old. And so that's how I got into sailing. And then when I was 20, my dad and I moved to Florida to start a business. And that was the end of sailing, because we came to Southeast Florida and we had to build a business and have a career. And then, you know, I had kids and the whole thing. And sailing just went, you know, out the window. We just didn't have an opportunity or time for it. And we got into power boating. And then, like Lenny said, when the last one went off to college, it was like, now we have time to sail. And so that was 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, we bought our first sailboat, which later turned into a catamaran. And then, as you know, now we've done all the Caribbean and all north coast of South America and through the Panama Canal and up to California and all the way back through Mexico, Sea Cortez, Central America, you know, you name it. And we were fortunate enough, I think our best cruise was when we took the Warriors with us through the Panama Canal. So Dan was
there.
Dan was on that trip. He's here now. Might have been our best trip. So anyway, so that, yeah,
I love connecting the dots.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The Bay Area is a great place to grow up sailing. You know what windy's like, that's for sure. We trained out there one year in the J22 for the Worlds, and I wanted to get some heavy air sailing. So where do you go? San Francisco.
Yeah.
You know, in August. Yeah, it was a really good training, because when we went to Kingston with the team, it blew 25 to 30 every day. And without that San Francisco training at St. Francis, we would not have been able to survive that week-long sailing. It was pretty impressive. I love that. So the other part of sailing that's interesting when I get in with these cruising groups, and also just kind of anybody in these warrior watches, is I talk about the balance of work and your adventures and the cruising and what it takes to do both. Because you both have been in one of my classrooms where I explain OPB, which is other people's boats, and OPM, other people's money. And I try and convince warriors that getting a taste for sailing under somebody else's control, under their boat, on their boat, with their money and their time and effort, is a great place to start to see what you like. And a lot of that is the balance that you guys have between your work life and your adventure in sailing, because you got to make the money to be able to pay for the adventure, to be able to do it. How do you guys balance that? And did you guys talk about that before you went cruising, before you bought the next boat? Is this all calculated, or do you like your dad?
He kind of nudged me into that.
Okay. And we might have jumped the gun a little.
Yeah, just a little.
Well, you asked a lot of questions there, so I'm going to try to hit them. I'll try to hit them. So first of all, what we kind of are defined as is called commuter cruiser. Okay. Lenny and I are not retired. We're both like workaholics and always have been. And we are fortunate to get to a point, and some people do, where they're able to work remotely. Right. And by the way,
now everybody
by the way, everybody on the screen now knows how to do that. Okay. John here usually was on the road 250 days a year, and he's been at home now since COVID started. So we were able to work remotely and start spending time on the boat, you know, a week a month, and then coming back. And some people will do this, you know, 1 week every 3 months or whatever. We have other friends, some on this Zoom call here. And for us, we found a way to be able to do like a week on the boat and then 3 weeks in the office and then a week on the boat. And when I say we're working on the boat, I mean, we're really working. Sometimes our kids tell me, hey, Dad, you know, you go enjoy yourself because I'll be on calls all day and, you know, that sort of thing. But what I would say is don't ever feel bad for me when I'm working on the boat because I have a great view. Okay. So it's the best office view. And as far as joking about jumping the gun is you have to have your life kind of in just the right place in order to be able to do this, you know, detachment. And when my son got accepted to Florida State University in January of 2012, I thought we were done. We flew to the Caribbean, bought a boat, and our first week of sailing happened to be finals week. And we were sailing from Anegada back to the British Virgin Islands on this new to us sailboat. And it was our first time, and it was like the dream of a lifetime. And, you know, we got episodes of Captain Ron and Pirates of the Caribbean to watch at night, and we're learning how to sail, and we don't know much of what we're doing because I've been so long. And my phone rings, and I'm like, how does my phone ring out here in the ocean? We're like 7 miles and 7 miles. And it's the principal of my son's high school, the principal of a 5,000 person high school. And he said, if your son doesn't turn in this project in the next 30 minutes, he's going to lose his admission to college. And Lenny's looking at me going, I told you we left too soon. You couldn't have waited until we sent him to college. Long story short, he always had a story. Apparently he had turned it in, hadn't put his name on it, whatever. But I saw, I mean, if you can picture this, I'm standing there on this boat, my life's dream come true, and it was slipping away with the voice of the principal, right? And she's like, we should, you know, we're going to sail back home. We're going to put the boat up for sale. We're going to go home. Luckily, he made it to college and he never got kicked out. And that's what kicked off our sailing career.
No, if I could just expand a little, Ben, I think, you know, for us, because now we've been doing it for a while, right? And we have a lot of friends that we've met through the YouTube channel, through you guys and just the network that, you know, either stopped working for a year or two and are just committed to the boat or are completely retired, sold everything. We don't see ourselves as ever doing that. It's just like Randy says, we like to work too much. We have our hands in all the businesses, but we're able to evolve so that we can go, you know, for longer periods of time because of the way we've set up the businesses, you know, so we're very lucky that way. But it does take some coordination because we have to have all the satellite equipment, all the communication equipment so that Randy can be accessible when he needs to be, you know, so there's some sacrifices with that you have to just be aware of.
And we're not disappointed with it. I want everybody to know when we're on the boat, you know, for it's usually 8 to 10 days or whatever. When we're excited to get there and we're excited to move it and go and do all the stuff we've done, that whole trip to California and back was 38 months, 38 trips, 380 days. Think about that. 38 times we flew back and forth to sail that 12,000 miles. And people would say to me, God, doesn't it just make you sick when you have to come home? Don't you wish you could stay? And it's quite the opposite. When we go do our 10 days on the boat or 8 days, whatever, we're excited to get on the plane. I'm excited to get home and I'm excited to get to work and see my kids and my grandkids and, you know, that sort of thing. So we love the back and forth. It's not a burden.
Yeah. And that's just how you guys set it up. I love to expand on that because at the camps, you get in there and Randy and Lenny have attended a lot of our camps. And I'm sure that if you guys have been there or you guys have seen the videos they put together for Warrior Sailing about their cruising adventures, but kind of promoting cruising is something that you and I, Randy and Lenny, and we've talked about lately was the cruising aspect of our program is something that we're really pushing forward with because I think a lot of it is because of the excitement that you draw, that adventure behind it. But there's no doubt it takes a lot of work. It is a lot of logistics. It's a lot of systems. It's a lot of things about the boat. Maybe just briefly talk a little bit about your new boat, about systems and understanding boats and what it means to actually work on the boat. I mean, cruising is not easy.
Well, I would say that as a spoiler alert, later in this episode, Ben is going to talk about some new initiatives around cruising. And we would like to take credit for a big part of that because because we've always been pushing the cruising angle. And so what I would like to say to the new members of basic training is, Ben's going to race you around on race boats and throw buckets of salt water on your face. We're going to sit you down and throw buckets of Corona in your face. So it's
and not the virus.
Yeah. So
not the virus.
Yeah.
Wrong beer.
So
yeah, Heineken.
So,
Heineken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say first, and I know Dan is learning this firsthand since he bought his first yacht. It is great to sail on others' boats. It is great to charter boats, which is also an option for a lot of people to get into it by going and renting a boat anywhere or in the country or in the Caribbean, what have you, and get time on so that you can use it but don't have to maintain it. The boat is a boat like ours, let's say. Not only does it have 2 engines and a generator and 5 sails and rigging and a dinghy, a tender for getting to and from shore, and anchoring equipment and water making equipment and scuba tank filling equipment and right down to washer and dryer and navigation and cooking facilities and a full sanitation system, like the government provides for you at home. All of this we do self-contained on the boat. And when we're out there, there is no one to call. So we have learned to take care of our boats when we're on them, right? For a trip. And when something breaks, it becomes an enjoyable part of the experience. We used to be the kind of people that when the boat broke, we called somebody to fix it when we lived in Florida. Now, when the boat breaks, we're kind of excited about it because you get to figure out why it's not working and troubleshoot the electrical and troubleshoot the plumbing and look at the equipment. And it's usually not equipment that fails, it's the installation of that equipment and the attachments and the electronics. And we've gotten quite good at it to when people come travel with us, they can't believe the stuff that Lennie and I have actually learned to do. And we learned to do it all by watching YouTube and reading manuals and just figuring stuff out. But it is a ton of work, but it's a labor of love.
Yeah. You have to enjoy it.
Oh yeah. Lennie, well, you said, yeah. So Vessel Vanguard, just for those of you who don't know, if you're an amateur like we are or were, there is a program called Vessel Vanguard where you can fill out a whole data sheet for this company of all the equipment on your boat. And they have a catalog of like 50,000 manuals. And they actually create a computer program personalized for your boat. And they send you an email every month telling you exactly how to maintain your boat, what to look for, what the steps are, what the page in the manual is, what the diagram is. And when you buy a boat and you get a bucket with 25 manuals in it or 50, you're never going to look through them. You're never going to catalog all the maintenance dates and things that are required. But this program does it for you. So it makes it dramatically easier for the amateur or the professional, because no pro is going to maintain their boat as well as somebody who gets fed the information like we do. So I would say that Vessel Vanguard makes it easy for us.
Oh, that's cool. I've never heard of that program. That's
I don't think we
fantastic.
talked about
Sends
that.
you all the information. That's great. So what do you guys, obviously we had to do this call on the 22nd. We were thinking about doing it later. What do you guys have planned right now? Because your YouTube channel's not up and running, maybe a little bit out of that, but what's your plan now for cruising? Where are you guys going?
Well, this year obviously put a wrench in everybody's plans. We had originally a year or two ago planned to join the World Arc Rally. And we would have been those people that got caught in South Pacific this year, which was awful. And we got very lucky to not be a part of that. And the only reason we didn't do it, our last event before we left Florida, we actually did a warrior sailing event out of Fort Lauderdale with Ian. On this new boat, and then we took off and went straight to the Caribbean, and the boat just wasn't ready. Like, we could just tell that we needed more time on it. It wasn't ready to make that big jump. It was a brand new boat. It had bugs that needed to be worked out. So we called it, and I don't know how we got so lucky, but thank God we did. So then we were all excited because we were like, you know what, we're gonna hang out in the Caribbean, we're gonna take our time, it's gonna be awesome. And that's not what happened. So the boat was stuck in the BVI for months. They wouldn't let us come in. And there's a video, we did one video about getting it out. And we got it out like in May.
In May.
In May.
Yeah, May or June.
And there's nowhere else to go but St. Thomas. We didn't want to come back to Florida. We didn't want to give up our Easting. So we just did everything we could to hang on. So we stayed in St. Thomas during hurricane season, eventually had to move it to Puerto Rico. It is now back in St. Thomas. And we were hoping to be headed south, but it just doesn't look that way. St. Martin, St. Bart's, nobody really wants Americans right now. And we just can't, we can't go in quarantine for 14 days because again, we don't live on the boat. So it's just not gonna work for us to go until those borders are open. So we just decided to stay in St. Bart's, or I'm sorry, St. Thomas. We know St. John very well right now because that's what we've been doing, is just going around St. John, which is beautiful. I mean, we can't complain about that. So
I mean, St. John is a pretty nice place.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
If you gotta be stuck somewhere, but Ben, we've scuba dove 6 times at every dive site and we've named the fish.
Yeah.
So we're
like locals.
Yeah, we really know St. John. And for those of you who know us or have followed us for a while, you know that Lennie and I are very adventurous. It's true. And you know, boating, you know, we talked about the effort and the maintenance and the learning as you go and all that. But it is an adventurous lifestyle that's super rewarding. And Lennie and my father was an adventurer. I've always been an adventurer. For those of you who watch the videos and see some of the stuff, you know, I ride dirt bikes through the desert in Baja, California every year, 3 or 4 times. I have a lot of adventurous things that we do, and boating is one of them. So the idea that Lennie and I are in one location for 9 months is like unheard of.
Yeah.
And some days we just want to get on the boat and sail one direction without a compass and see where we go. And
do some overnights.
Yeah,
and
just
stuff.
it's just so this is just so unusual for us. It's like we're on charter, you know, for 10 days a month. With that said, the boat is safe. Hurricane season was a nightmare because there's no marinas that you can leave the boat in. So every time a storm would come, we'd have to fly to St. Thomas, go to an anchorage, hunker down for a storm. The storm would pass over. Then we'd go back to the marina and then back to Puerto Rico. And then Puerto Rico went into lockdown again. So then we had to go to Puerto Rico and move it back to St. Thomas. So it's just been like the COVID shuffle. And we're super excited about all the vaccines and all the news around all that because, you know, maybe as summer approaches or fall, things will open up a little bit. And I know this is just a luxury we're talking about, but it's going to be great when we can get moving again.
Yeah, and for the holidays, we're basically staying here for Christmas with just the girls and the grandchildren. And then the 2 girls, older Randy's girls, are coming with us for New Year's in St. John. So that'll be fun. It'll be our first time actually hosting because nobody really wanted to go down there with us because it was like a little bit of drama. You had to get a test, you know what I mean? So we've been alone every trip just about, you know?
Yeah, so we're gonna have a great 10 days down there starting on the 26th.
Ah, that's fantastic. I love the adventurous spirit. And I think everybody has had this huge shuffle, right? We've had this experience lately where we've started to do in-person camps locally in St. Pete, keeping the numbers down, abiding by all the regulations, trying our best to get people out on the water. And I've seen some familiar faces here on the call that have been out there with us. And just to get in the same room, you know, to be within, out in the water, just to get on the water and just like get some of that camaraderie, even the feeling of it is just amazing just to get people back in it. I'm excited for you guys to get back out there and get your boat up and running. And so what is the new boat? What's the kind and make and model?
The new boat is a Leopard 50. And just to go back, so our first boat was a monohull, which we love because I grew up sailing monohulls. So I was never, ever gonna have a catamaran. Not even if there was a fire, I was not gonna have a catamaran. And after 3.5 years of sailing that monohull up and down the Caribbean and all that adventure and everything, we were actually flying back and forth on planes, talking to other sailors. And one guy's like, yeah, I'm buying a catamaran. I'm tired of, hearing about it from my wife. I'm buying a catamaran. And then another guy on another plane, like the same trip, said he was buying a catamaran. So we're like, let's look into this catamaran thing. and we went to Fort Lauderdale and we test sailed one, and we just were like, it's the convenience, the handling, sailing flat, the ability to carry payload, the ability to carry guests, the ability to be, you know, above the water instead of down inside the boat. It's not for everybody, but we loved it. And so that was a Leopard 48. And we had that catamaran for 4.5 years on that big cruise we did to California and back, 4 years. And then Leopard announced a new model, which we knew was coming because they obviously loved our YouTube channel because, and most of you guys know, we were never compensated for anything, nor would we take money for anything. Our channel, any money that we got was donated to Warrior Sailing, and our channel was non-monetized, and we just were trying to help people contribute to Warrior Sailing, but not through us any direct donations. So anyway, we ordered the Leopard 50, took delivery of that boat in July of 2019 with the plan, as Lenny said, of taking off. And then, you know, obviously that slowed down, but we've now had that boat almost 1.5 years now. And we sailed it to the Caribbean nonstop. We left Fort Lauderdale, and 7 days later, we ended up in the British Virgin Islands. That was a wonderful trip. And all of that is documented on our YouTube channel. And then our YouTube channel, we, after we got back to the Caribbean and we realized we were going to be back in the Caribbean where we'd already filmed the first boat, the second boat, and all that time, we basically kind of put the pause on the YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, and I know a lot of you on this channel do know, or this Zoom call do know, it was about 20 hours a week of our time for filming, editing, posting, answering comments, doing all the work. And we did it for 4.5 years nonstop. And at some point we kind of had to like take a break from it, which we've now done. And but our channel still gets thousands of views and still has 23,000 subscribers. And so we post little snippet videos here and there every now and then to keep it going. But we're done from the day-to-day filming and the episodes.
Nice. And I mean, is there a tentative plan to break it back out again post-COVID situation? I mean, is it not quite sure, maybe?
We probably won't go back to like an episodic series because the investment of time is just too tough. And we kind of feel like, you know, believe it or not, we got into sailing videos when it was quite new and there was only 100 or so channels that were relevant. And now there's 1,000. And so we were kind of, you know, kind of on the forefront of that. And we kind of hit our crescendo. We did that big cruise, and we feel like we did what we could for the sport and for the community, you know. And now we've kind of passed the baton to others who are taking off and starting their own channels and continuing that.
Nice. And that was one of the reasons why I was like, you know, COVID, they're locked inside. They've got this new boat. They might have some time now to help Warrior Sailing with, not that they haven't already helped us a ton, but like specific time to talk about marketing and helping me develop this new idea. And that segues right into what we've been talking about, the announcement, the idea that we have moving forward. And I just want the whole audience and everyone to know that I contacted Randy and Lenny because, one, I was trying to figure out who has been the most supportive and active in trying to get the attention to Warrior Sailing, donating time and money. And you guys kept coming at the top of the list of the people who have put the time and effort into trying to get the word out about Warrior Sailing in a very effective way, working with us, coming to camps, doing videos, raising money by selling shirts online, all of this awareness. And we wanted to keep you engaged and keep you excited about what we have going on. And so I proposed kind of an initial idea and concept that I had to Randy and Lenny about how they could help me get this information out to the world. So it has sparked what you guys are about to see in a short kind of introduction video that we're going to put on. If Ian could play it now. He's like our producer now. He's in the background. I don't know where he's at. You know, Ian's back there just like going and figuring out how to play this stuff. But we thought we would play this intro video. He's going to share a screen, and this is what Randy and Lenny helped us, and we can talk about it as soon as it's done. Go for it, Ian. This is technology. Mm-hmm.
Let's start here. B stands for basic training. We all start the same place. We all start the full program, consecutive days in various locations across the United States.
Then
The O stands for onboard certification. So you're not just getting the money to go take the course and nothing. You're actually out there doing the course.
L means life-changing opportunity or experience. For me, that was getting to go to Michigan, do some sailing in the Great Lakes, got to be racing, I got to do some cruising, and I also got to do a delivery on a great boat.
But then you finally start getting the opportunity to become a director and start learning how to teach other veterans and your brothers and sisters how to get on the water and change their lives.
Wow.
Warrior sailing is mental freedom, opportunity. It's just like going back and you've got all that camaraderie again.
Warrior sailing changed my life.
This has been a lifesaver.
Okay. You get that on there. That was it.
So I'm not sure if it might have been a little bit broken on my camera. Was it broken up, the video, or did people get to see it in full? Randy and Lenny, did you guys see it, or was it kind of broken up?
We could see it. The sound was a little scratchy, but everybody can go click on it on your website as soon as you launch it. But the message came
It's a
through.
great video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real.
All right.
Well,
Well,
I'm gonna share the
Yeah.
link right now in the chat. Give me 1 sec. It's in the chat for everyone to
So-
see.
awesome. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate it. Sometimes the bandwidth issue with getting the videos, they're like too good to put out all the time. We did post it up on the YouTube channel. And our idea here and our concept, Randy and Lenny helped us really kind of zero in on the focus because of their support and what they want to help get Warrior doing. What I'm doing, it's called the BOLD campaign. And it's an acronym for basic training, onboard certifications, life-changing opportunities, and directorship. And it's a plan for the next 5 years to change 750 veterans, change their lives through sailing. And that can be different experiences, but obviously the sequence in which some of you have already been through basic and some onboard certifications. But I think what we want to do is put a focus on the number and really, really get out there and have some goals for us and looking to the future to change some more and more lives and getting more people to help us. Randy and Lenny were huge in input in giving us feedback. And can you guys, explain a little bit about your take on the BOLD campaign and this kind of unveiling of the numbers and what you guys are thinking for the future?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, we're, first and foremost, we're financial donors to the program, and we have been, I think, in our 4th year now, and we've donated money, and we've come to the camps to meet and help a little bit and share some of the side of sailing, which is the cruising side, which I know you're going to touch on, and that's really, what, from a donor's perspective, we were kind of on the outside looking in. And when COVID happened and Ben and Ian and Corey, and through their leadership, were looking for another way to put the message out of what Warrior Sailing is going to be now and into the future, they asked if we would sit into some of their meetings, and we did several Zoom calls and workshopping of different ideas. And I want to give them full credit for all of the ideas. And we just kind of help them tweak it from the donor's perspective, from the outsider's perspective. And it's been fun for us because it's added like a new dimension of our support for Warrior Sailing is to help them put out good content so they can change as many lives as they can and raise as much money with which to do so. What I like most about the BOLD campaign is that it's setting a time horizon of 60 months and what the goals are to achieve in the 60 months. And people like Lenny and I aren't thinking about donating to Warrior Sailing today because it makes us feel good and that's good for the program, but it's making us think about next year's donation and the year after and the year after and the year after, and the lives it can change each time. And I will tell you that a lot of the donors that came through our YouTube channel, we keep seeing the donations clicking off every year with the same name. So we realize that our followers are doing the same thing, where it wasn't just a one-time, hey, Randy and Lennie asked, we're going to help support. And so I think that when this messaging gets out there and people can really see the depth that you guys are looking at over the next 60 months, it adds a lot of context, and it's very exciting for us.
I love that. Thank you very much, because they helped not only put together the hard copy information in the booklet that's going to be available at the link, which we can put up. There will be a landing page that takes you to be able to download this PDF that really lays out our plan and what we have going on. And I think it gets us into the focus of BOLD and the BOLD campaign. We do bold things at Warrior Sailing. Like some of you who are on this call, you trust us with getting on board a 53-foot race boat and racing it all the way up to Mackinac, and spending a whole month with me and other coaches, and even just coming to camps and just getting off the couch, figuring out something you want to do, figuring out and learning a new skill. All of these things are huge. And I'm really excited about looking forward to the future, right? 2020, how many more days are left in this year? Let's get to 2021. Let's make some goals. Let's go fundraise. It also sparked some really good ideas from this summer, which we have some recap videos that will come out in a little bit about cruising. And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you guys on board. And I know Ian is smiling on the inside because I made fun of him forever about cruising. And I would be the worst cruising person to go with because I would never stop trimming the sails. And I would want to go as fast as I possibly can in all directions. And I understand that. But what I learned this summer was the lessons and the things that you guys have learned along the way in your cruising career have opened up doors to networks of friends, traveling, new places to go see, adventure, and also about the boats, right? You learn so much about the boats. And there's so much information, like you said, going on in your head about systems and being independent, being offshore and trimming sails, that cruising really is an aspect of Warrior Sailing that's very important and something that people want to do. And so we've talked a lot about that, Randy, about how cruising is one of those options that really people are interested in, and the adventure of racing is fantastic, but going cruising is awesome too. So some of those onboard certifications that we're talking about, coastal cruising and getting some navigation and just learning systems is what people really want to know. They want to know what's in my head about fixing boats and engines and all of those things. So I'm really excited about the BOLD campaign. We're going to get more and more information out. There will be some more videos that'll come out. Hopefully the links can get out there. I just thank you guys very much for helping contribute. It's also a little bit of the advisory group, which I think you and I have talked about as well. I asked Randy what the most embarrassing moment or what he didn't like about supporting some nonprofits. And he had a really funny story about a dinner party that was a fundraiser that they actually zeroed out people, right? Randy, can you explain the story one more time? I just love this story, but they, at a fundraiser.
They told everybody stand up. Now, anybody who's not going to donate $10,000 tonight, sit down. And everybody froze. And it was just a horrible, mean thing. First of all, I was also a kid and didn't have $10,000 at the time, but I was invited to the event. So
you were there for a free meal.
We just were talking about the challenges of fundraising, and it's something that every organization struggles with. Back to your BOLD campaign, Ben. You asked me at one point, what do I like better, the BOLD? And they're all good, because what's happened now that we've been involved in your program, not since the beginning, but close to it, is that we've seen the advancement of some of the people that are right here on this screen that we're looking at, where they went from basic training to their certifications to the life experiences, and now to coaching and directorship. And it's a wonderful life cycle but I think you asked me one question, which is your favorite of the BOLD? And the favorite of the BOLD is basic training, because it's what gets the veteran out of their house and onto a boat for the first time. The rest of it is just the magic of sailing. And for those of you on the call, my experience with sailing goes back into the 70s. And what many of you don't know is that the sailing was a unusual sport from about 1850 to 1960. And that was that if your dad was a sailor, you were a sailor. And that was it. And there was very few boats, very few boat building companies. In the 70s, this thing came about called the second golden age of sailing. And that is when production sailboats were made out of fiberglass and they were available to the masses at the same time that an international oil crisis was going on, and gas was expensive and sailing was cheap because the wind was free. But I heard that one of the administrations was going to charge $2 a gust, but they never got that passed. So anyway, so sailing just exploded, and sailboat manufacturers exploded in the 70s and 80s, and then died just as quickly. And it never came back to prominence till now. You guys are in it right now, which is kind of interesting. When Warrior Sailing started, racing's always been out there, but now with America's Cup, with the speed of the boats, with the catamaran thing, people wouldn't buy a monohull and put their family on it and sail around the world with no experience, but they do it today every month. And people from all walks of life. And, you know, when we talk about learning how to sail, learning how to boat, learning the systems, we know people that are like captains of industry that sell their company and they go buy a 40-foot catamaran and they take off not knowing anything to sail around the world. And they come back and they are freaking experts, but they learn with that passion. And so it's for everybody. Everybody loves that adventure and that experience. So your Bold campaign is great. The future is bright. We're going to raise a lot of money for it. But the most important thing is to get people out of the house and onto that first experience, which is the basic training. That's my favorite. Drop the mic.
I love that. Lenny, you going with the same one? That was a pretty good answer. You're hard to follow that one, but
and you know what else? We've been involved with so many of those by visiting the camps that we see it. You know, we've seen that experience and how the brand new sailors, and then they do the race at the end of the camp, and it's so exciting. You know that we've really enjoyed that.
I'm still on text chain with people that I met at your camps, where we would come to the dinner afterwards and I'd be sitting in the corner and talking to somebody, and pretty soon we're lifelong friends with somebody and I'm on text chains with them. Like it's wonderful. And it's wonderful to see the personal development of all the people that we've met through your camps.
It's one of my favorite parts. I mean, the network, the fact that you and I are on this Zoom, the fact that Ian's the producer of this show, the fact that how we met Corey. I mean, all of the friends in my life and the networks that we've developed have all become from sailing. And part of that network talk, and to kind of wrap it up here, we're getting towards the end of the call, is I always ask a couple set questions, and I think we've covered a lot of those questions. And you guys, thank you so much for taking the time. But if you had to give advice to a warrior that you were sitting at the dinner of a basic training camp to continue to sail, what would that advice be? And this can be both of you or one of you, but I like, if you were gonna give advice to someone that just got done with a basic training camp, what would it be to stay involved?
Don't leave the program, because we've met the people that have, I mean, we've seen the people that have come and gone, and we've seen the people that have stayed and developed, and their skills developed, and their, you know, husband and wives like Dan and Julie buying boats, and others that have come with us, and the events that you guys create and that we've created. We've done 3 or 4 events on our boat to welcome warriors, Panama Canal, other things. The world is full of opportunities when you get into a network like this. So John Applegate here on the call. He took some of your warriors on a trip to the Caribbean from the Northeast. So I mean, the network and the opportunities are there, and it's amazing. And so that would be my advice to somebody sitting at the dinner after basic training is don't quit. This is just the beginning.
Right, and know that there are opportunities to get on other people's boats, you know, because it's you have to do that for a while. So that's what your program, I think, offers. It's helpful, right?
Beyond the camps.
Yes, and staying connected. We love that, and that's something that we're all needing connection these days. So I'm so happy to have so many people on here. You guys must be really popular because this is the most that we've ever had. You know, it's that YouTube fame. You got, well, that's who I was talking about, Randy. I wasn't talking about you. Of course, you're on there for Lenny.
To wrap up for us, I want to say that when you say YouTube fame, that's kind of like a joke for Lenny and I, right? She's more of an introvert. I'm more of an extrovert. When she gave me that GoPro camera the first time and I started filming it and I put it on YouTube, she came home and I go, look, I launched this on this thing called YouTube. And she goes, don't put us on YouTube, right? And then 4 years later, we went to a boat show and we walked in the door and we couldn't look at a boat the first day because we were taking selfies with with people and signing autographs and all this stuff. And John, you've been there at the show where we really built a network of people that were like-minded. And so in the boat show, it was like all these people knew us. And I'm like, wow, that's what being famous must be. And then we leave the boat show to go get a hamburger. Then we leave the boat show to go get a hamburger. And the guy looks at me and goes, hey, bud, what do you have? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. No.
Not famous.
But in the show,
Well, it was probably another professional sailor who's won like 10 world championships asking you a question at the restaurant you went at, because as soon as you leave the boat show, no one understands what is going on. Why is that person famous? What's a world championship? Yeah. I love it. Well, I really appreciate you guys and everything that you do for Warriors and Warrior Sailing. And I'm really excited for all the future things that we have going on. You are our first official members of the advisory team. They're going to help us raise the money for the rest of this bold campaign and get it out there. I really can't thank you guys enough for always staying in touch and taking the time to help us create these opportunities. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Happy
Nice
holidays
to see everybody.
everyone.
Yeah, happy holidays to everybody. Again, if you had specific questions for us for Randy and Lenny, they might stick around. Or if you wanted to shoot one of us an email or me an email, we can put you guys in touch to get some answers. And please go check out the Bold campaign. We're going to have that video up on YouTube. We'll share those links and we'll have some recap videos coming out. And we will have an auction, a raffle ticket auction for a Warrior Sailing sea bag, one of the donated sales that we got turned into a bag. That'll be in January. So we got some cool things coming up, and also our normal, hopefully back to somewhat normal schedule coming up soon. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks everybody for paying attention. And Randy and Lenny, thank you again. Bold campaign, here we go. 2021, here we come. Happy holidays to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, everybody.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all those wonderful things. See ya, everybody.
Thanks, Lenny. Thanks, Randy. Merry Christmas.